horns up show. Sweet. Down the line, give me your SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC pick to win the whole thing, and your sleeper pick. Toss, you'll start us off, man.
I believe the Georgia Bulldogs are going to win the SEC. I think that the Ohio State Buckeyes are going to win the Big 10. I think the Utah Utes are going to win the Big 12. And I think we're getting a little bit of an advantage here because we've already seen Florida State play and lose. But I think that the U is going to win the ACC.
Okay. Sleepers?
I went with teams that have plus 500 odds or greater is what I considered a sleeper. So that took some teams out of contingency. Like the Texas Longhorns cannot be the sleeper for the SEC because their odds are
sure.
Right. They have the second best odds to win the SEC. I have Michigan at plus 900 to win the Big 10. Penn State had the second best odds. It's not a deep reach for a sleeper, Michigan, but I think for a lot of reasons it still is a sleeper with the turnover at the head coach, new quarterback, etc. Just because they lost a game doesn't mean they can't win the conference. Florida State now is plus 600 and they're 0-1 in conference play, which certainly doesn't help them. But I think things could get messy in the ACC. So I think at this point, they're still a good sleeper. Oklahoma State, they had the third best odds in the Big 12. I didn't go deep reaches. Like my deep reach there would probably be Kansas. But I do think that Oklahoma State could make some noise. And then this one is a deep reach. Mizzou is plus 2,500. And they're coming into the season similar rankings with Ole Miss, but Ole Miss is like plus 800 to win the SEC. And I think Mizzou is actually a better team and they're better coached. Lane Kiffin is a guy who crumbles in big, big games.
Wow. Okay. Love that. And then do you actually want to go your Heisman winner and your Heisman sleeper for us real quick?
Sure. I have Carson Beck, who has the second best odds to win the Heisman. I think this is a bit of a chalk year for Kirby Smart, the Georgia Bulldogs, and Carson Beck. And I think they really showcase that he wants to grab the reins that Saban once had. At least in name. Obviously, the Bulldogs have won so much over the last 4 years. And then my sleeper is, I already talked about Miami, but I think the Wazoo product transfer, Cam Ward, is an absolute stud. He's plus 1,400 to win the Heisman. If they're winning the ACC, he's dominating, and I think he's awesome. I think he's awesome. So he's my sleeper pick.
All right, Nick, run us through it, man.
Okay. I mean, for sleepers, I'll just kind of I'm not picking the bottom 5 teams in these conferences. Like
sure.
Some of these sleepers are ranked. So
yeah,
I don't know how much sleeper is, but okay. So the SEC, got to go with Texas. I got to feel like this is the year with Quinn putting it all together. Relatively easier schedule after Georgia. OU, obviously that's always going to be a tough one, in Michigan. But other than that, I like our draw. The A&M game will be fun at the end of the season. I don't think there'll be any competition there. I know it's a rivalry game, but at the end of the day, these kids don't know anything about this rivalry. They've never played in their rivalry, so it doesn't have the same type of rivalry allure to the players as what is the fans. It's not like Texas OU for these players, at least. So Texas winning the SEC. My sleeper for the SEC being Ole Miss. I think they're a team that also has a really easy schedule besides Georgia. If they can upset Georgia that game, they can win the whole damn thing. I do love what everyone's saying out of Jackson Dart. I think their offense looks incredible. Yes, Lane Kiffin has crumbled at times, but at some point you got to figure it out. They gave him a big contract for a reason, and this could be the year for them. It's pretty wide open with, Bama kind of making their exit, and, really Georgia and Texas are the top dogs. For the Big 10, I like Oregon. I think Oregon coming over the Big 10. I like Dylan Gabriel. I think, the team didn't really change all that much as of last year. And, they were a team that was on the fringe and, coming into a new conference, they're going to look to just go out there and make a statement right away. Between them and Ohio State, it comes down to quarterback. I really think that Dylan Gabriel is more talented than Will Howard. And I mean, Will Howard's fine, but I like what I'm seeing more out of Oregon's offense. The sleeper, I also have Michigan. They were the national champion last year, and they're getting disrespected. I know they had a lot of turnover, the new head coach, new quarterback, but I think Alex Orji is really talented still. They still have Donovan Edwards. They still have a pretty intact offensive line. It's not like their receivers were like world beaters last season, right? And they always get receivers in the building, and their defense is still going to be one of the tops in the nation. And they won games with the guy who's the head coach now, who took over as interim head coach. So it's not like it's a brand new, it's not like it's a brand new guy coming to the mix that no one knows you have to adjust to. So I think Michigan, is a really disrespected sleeper. Big 12. Is it okay to have my sleeper also be my pick here? Is that
Go for it.
okay? Arizona.
Yeah,
I think
that's a fair sleeper and pick,
right?
In my
Because
opinion.
Arizona,
You don't think so, Josh?
No, I love Arizona. I think they could have the best quarterback wide receiver combo in the nation. Is that what you're going to say?
Well,
no. I'm just saying from a fairness of like the game.
It is fair.
They've got seventh best odds in the Big 12.
It's totally fair.
That's definitely a sleeper. But I think that they're a team that actually can and will win the Big 12. I think they're getting a little bit disrespected right now. They're ranked, but they had a tremendous season last year, turned a lot of heads. Like you said, great quarterback, wide receiver combo. I think the defense is one of the best in the conference, which is already a conference that always struggles with defense. And it's pretty wide open. There's not anyone taking commanding lead. I know that Utah always gets the love, coming over from the Pac-12, but you really just need, one big win against them. And I think this conference can be what the Pac-12 was last year, where it kind of cannibalizes itself. But I think the new team coming in, Arizona, is the one that can make some noise and win the most games there. My ACC pick, I also have Miami, the U, alluding to kind of my Heisman pick. I think that Cam Ward is going to have an awesome season. It's time for them to take the step up and actually become the U that used to be the U. It's starting to happen all around college football. Texas is back. Michigan is back. These big blue blood programs are starting to kind of regain their momentum and take the reins back. It's not like they had bad recruiting classes. It's still Miami. And as we saw, Florida State took a big L in Ireland, and they're looking to probably take a step back in what they were last year. I'm still not bought in on Clemson, so I like Miami. And then my sleeper for that conference is Georgia Tech, the team that just took down Florida State. And I think it's a little bit of kind of cheating and recency bias, as we just saw them take down Florida State, but they looked impressive. Their defense looked really good.
It's still a sleeper pick. So
yeah,
I think I don't think you're cheating. I think
right.
it's
we have a leg up. They just took care of, the ranked opponent, top 10 opponent, early in the season. Those games don't really get valued as much as they do later in the season, but I still think, it's a conference win. They're leading the conference right now. They're 1-0. So I have a bit of an advantage there, but I liked what I saw of their quarterback. I liked what they saw out of their athletes and their defense as well. So that's one. And then my Heisman, I have Cam Ward winning the Heisman. I think that he's going to have a very similar season to what Michael Penix had, but I think he runs a little bit more. And I think that, they get clicking there, and he's going to raise his draft stock immensely. I personally felt like he was the best quarterback in the transfer portal this year, and Miami hit a home run with him because I really liked him last year at Wazoo. And then I got two sleepers here because I think this guy is just getting completely disrespected when it comes to his Heisman odds. He's plus 10,000. It's a long shot, but Donovan Edwards, running back for Michigan. Blake Corum got so many touchdowns last year. Donovan Edwards is the number one guy now, undoubtedly. He gets the yards, he gets the touchdowns, and it's a season where it's a little bit more wide open than people expect to be. I know Carson Beck is, right now the odds-on favorite, but I think there's a lot of different guys in the mix. And I think, Josh, you even said this a while back, that this could be the year of the running back in college football. And Donovan Edwards is the guy that with plus 10,000 odds, sprinkling maybe $50 here. If you have $100 to spare, those are really good odds that you can get out of him. So I really like what I'm seeing there. And then Travis Hunter, plus 5,000 to plus 6,000 odds, playing both sides of the football. It's all about just staying healthy and being able to stay conditioned. If he catches 10 touchdowns and has 5 picks and returns a couple of kicks, we haven't really seen that type of player since Desmond Howard, and so, we really want to go out there and see a guy that can actually take college football by storm. And, we'll see where he gets drafted in the NFL, but he's a guy that could really do some fun things in college football and make his way to New York.
How many games do they have to win realistically for him to be truly in consideration? Because to me, if they win 6 games, if they win 7 games, I can't give that guy the Heisman. Not 8. I think they have to win like 9 games, dude.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know if it matters as much as the quarterback position. It's just about like a marvel. Like if he's actually just doing everything out there
if
on the
he's
field.
Shohei Ohtani, if he's like the
Right.
Shohei Ohtani of college football,
Right.
I'm with it.
I mean, yeah, Shohei Ohtani won the MVP and the Angels sucked.
So
That's an understatement. Terrible.
So I feel like it's a little different, but I understand your point.
Actually,
I'm just
think
looking at odds. Just like if he's plus 5,000, plus 6,000 odds, like it's a nice little flyer bet.
if
And
we're
the
talking
guy
about
we
the
know is super dope.
if we're talking about the Heisman as the MVP, we've seen guys like Lamar, RG3, Manziel. Their teams weren't winning. Like they won games, obviously, and they won big games, but they weren't winning the whole damn thing. It's not like the NBA or the NFL where like it's the best player typically on the best team, right? I
Yeah,
think
but how many games did they win though?
a lot. I'm not
Like
I
10
think
plus wins like every time. It's just they
If-
didn't go undefeated.
And they're
Like,
also quarterbacks though. So
if
right,
he is
who impact
if he
the
has
game in a
5
far
picks
bigger
and
way.
10 if he has 10 total touchdowns and 5 picks and they win 8 games, I'm with him winning the Heisman. That's insane. In the talent level in the Big 12, in the talent level in college football, I'm with that completely. They won 8 games, it's a huge turnaround for them.
Yeah, 8 is 8. You can sell me on it. And anything less than 8, I'm staunchly in opposition of, because you're barely even becoming bowl eligible. Like why do I care about your team in that situation? You win 6.
well, a lot of people
games-
care about
2
that
games-
team. No matter
A
how
lot
much
of people
they
care.
win.
2 games above bowl edge on that, I'll say.
I also
Okay.
think that like there's an aspect too of just being in the national spotlight at all times. Colorado's going to get a ton of national games just because of Dion and Shador and Travis. So he's going to get just a lot of like media love.
For sure.
And
He's going to get a
there's
ton of
something to
hype.
say about that too.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay. Let's see. SEC, I'm going with us. Georgia's obviously going to be incredibly nice and scary, but if not now, I don't care that
Right.
we're going. I don't care. Yeah, this is it. Actually, kind of an unfortunate sleeper pick if it does go south for us. I think as far as draws go, I think A&M's got a pretty decent draw in the SEC. They don't have to see Bama or Georgia. I know, it seems like there's a lot of turnover. I actually think they brought the right guy, right head coach into the building with Elko. It could take a year to get his sea legs, but they're ranked. I think their quarterback's really strong, and I think they're going to be really good defensively. So as a deep sleeper pick, I have A&M in the SEC as much as it pains me. Big Ten, Ohio State. I'm going with the Buckeyes. I obviously respect the Oregon pick, but I'm not good. They're my number 2 team. I'm going with Ohio State. Yes, Dylan Gabriel's a better quarterback than Will Howard. Will Howard might not even be a top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten, but the rest of their roster is ridiculous. So I'm riding with the Buckeyes. My sleeper pick, I think Jed Fish is one heck of a coach. And I know there's insane turnover in Washington, but they went to the national championship last year. I think Washington's a team that they're not an easy out. So I'm watching Washington like a hawk this year. Will Rogers was a guy I bought stock into a couple years ago. He's the QB1 with Jed Fish in Washington. So I think they're a team that you got to still keep an eye on. In my Big 12, I'm going with the Utes. I love the Arizona pick. I'm curious to see how they do. Had Arizona had Jed Fish, they'd be my outright winner in the Big 12, no questions asked. But new head coach coming over from San Jose State, we'll see how he does. And then my sleeper pick, I like Avery Johnson as the signal caller for Kansas State in Manhattan. I don't hate it. I think Kansas State could be pretty decent and competitive with Chris Kleiman in the Big 12 without OU and Texas. So they're my sleeper pick in the Big 12, Kansas State. And then we'll go to the ACC. I'm pretty chalk with you guys. Miami, Cam Ward, trust him. Obviously, Florida State's fraudulent state university. Georgia Tech. I actually like Georgia. People think of Georgia Tech with the triple option as the Georgia Tech of old. Brent Key, the head coach, and Georgia Tech's been there for a while, but before he was there, he was the offensive line coach at Alabama. This guy's no nonsense. I think that's important to take note of. Haynes King came over from A&M, led the ACC in touchdown pass, did lead in interceptions, but he led the ACC in touchdown passes last year. So this Georgia Tech team is not the Georgia Tech team that we grew up watching. So I think it's, yes, a bit of recency bias, but value in picking them as a sleeper, as a true sleeper. And then my Heisman winner, he was a beast last year running the football. I think, he had some seed growing pains the first couple games. But after we played them in Tuscaloosa, Jalen Milroe started getting real hot. And he's not a guy that I'm sleeping on by any stretch of the imagination. So my Heisman pick out of Alabama, I think with the new head coach and Kalen DeBoer, I think Jalen Milroe is going to turn it up this year big time. And I think he's going to win the Heisman. And then look, man, I don't know how USC is going to be. They might stink and their defense might suck. But I've watched Miller Moss play, and that kid can sling the rock. He's a true heir to the throne. He's not Caleb Williams, but he's a real competent college quarterback. And it's still Lincoln Riley, bro. That offense is, and they still have Zachariah Branch. That offense is still going to sing in my eyes. And I think Miller Moss is going to surprise some people and could be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. So at plus 4,000, Miller Moss is my sleeper Heisman pick.
Nice.
All right, quickly.
I don't. USC is like, there's not a lot of attention on them, and I think that's such a good thing for them because there normally is, and they normally crumble because we're so overhyping them.
I agree, but I think there's not a lot of attention on them because people know that their defense is not going to hang at all in that conference. That the offenses in the Big Ten are just too much for the USC defense. They've maybe gotten a little better, but it's going to take some time. I mean,
sure.
I sat on the plane yesterday. It's random, but with the former assistant AD in the 90s at USC, we talked the whole plane ride, and he basically said, like Lincoln Riley, offensive coach, but like we were talking about defense, and how do you build a defense when you're constantly firing defensive coordinators? Your defense is constantly bottom of the barrel when it comes to a conference that already doesn't play great defense. How do you expect to have guys come over and say, yeah, I want to play defense for you guys, but I also want to go to the league? But it makes them look like frauds because they go in that defense and they get devalued. No, they want to go to Bama. They want to go to LSU. They want to go to Georgia, where they know that defense is always going to be supreme there and they can lock in their draft stock. It's hard. It's no longer the Palomalu, Brian Cushing, Ray Malaluga, era. Like, they have to rebuild that from scratch, and it's going to take so much time.
Well, you
mentioned epic throw out of Ray. I was just stunned by the Ray Malaga throw out. That's an epic toss out.
You mentioned all SEC teams, but they're competing with Ohio State and Michigan, who in the last 5-10 years,
Iowa,
right? How many
Penn State for
players?
Sure.
Yeah. So
for sure, Penn State.
It's going to be really, really tough, and that's why I'm more in lockstep with you, Josh, and as far as who I think is going to win the Big Ten, because I agree with you, Nick. Dylan Gabriel is a better quarterback than Will Howard. Dan Lanning is a good coach, one who has made a concerted effort in the last 3 years to recruit linemen, guys that know how to play hard-nosed football. But Ryan Day is a really good coach too, and that defense didn't go anywhere. That defense is terrifying. Everyone stayed. So they're not going to play the same Ohio State type of offense that we saw 2 years ago with CJ Stroud. It's going to look very different. They're going to play smash mouth football. They're going to play really, really tough football, especially in the trenches, and their defense is going to mop up on teams.
Yeah, we didn't throw in Judkins in there either. He's a guy who could potentially just go off,
dude. Off. He could go off. And all right. Last couple little bits just down the line. Natty winner, toss.
I probably tease I think Georgia's going to win it all.
Nick, same time.
if not this year, when?
If not now, then when, baby? I respect the pick toss. Tough to go against it. They're going to be sick on defense. Beck's the best quarterback, but hook 'em horns. Screw it. This is the time I'm dying on this hill. Well, hopefully not when. Hopefully we're contenders for forever. But
that's why I made a face when you said that, because I was like, "What? We're supposed to be good for the next 10 years." I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
in our hearts, in our heads, we have Texas, but let's each give a non-Texas to make it interesting.
Oh man, non-Texas to win the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tricky, dude. I have to. Non-Texas to win the whole shebang. If we don't win it, what a story this would be. If we don't win it, I'm gonna say Alabama wins it.
That would be a crazy story.
That'd be crazy.
It's quiet out of there right now. It's not the same team, but it's the same team. It's just not the same coach. Okay, if not us, I'll go with Georgia. It's boring, but
come on.
I'll just say part of the reasoning. So now we have an expanded playoff system.
Sure.
If what you're predicting is to come true, I think it is predicated on the Texas Longhorns winning the SEC.
Have
They're
to.
getting a bye.
If I just look at the playoff system, and if you throw more games in there, who do I trust more than any other coach to win those matchups, to have their team prepared? It's Kirby Smart. There's only 3 coaches that have won the national championship that are coaching in college football right now. It's Mac Brown. Guess what? They're not going to win one. It's Kirby Smart and it's Dabo Swinney.
And Kirby's about to smack the crap out of Dabo on week 1.
Say, Georgia has a tougher schedule than Texas does.
Very tough.
Much tougher schedule. And if we beat Georgia, which is at home, if it was in Athens, different story. I think that, you give them a much bigger edge here. We have the home factor. It's not going to be that big of a crazy spread. We'll still be an underdog in that game. If we win that game, what else is there? I mean, I know there's OU and there's A&M, but really, what else is there ahead of us to win the SEC? You win that game, it's like pretty much you're winning the conference.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think I also agree with Josh. A&M is going to be a tough game.
I think it's going to be tougher than you think.
It is.
Dude.
It is.
I know
Kyle
you don't
Field.
want it to be. Yeah,
it's at Kyle Field. It is going to mean something for that crowd. And when they're loud, they're loud. Like it.
Yeah, I mean, the price of admission to get in there for nosebleeds right now, like very top of the stadium, is like $650 just to walk in the stadium. It's like crazy. It's the most expensive ticket to get into a game this season and any college football game.
That's it. They just want to see us.
Guess what happens if what you say is right, Nick? If they lose 3 games early, then all of a sudden the circle gets bigger around us, right? Because then they're like, screw it. We're not even playing for an SEC championship. It doesn't matter.
I don't think they're going to be bad. I think Josh said they're a sleeper to win the SEC, but
they are.
I just think that this, like, it matters so much more to the fans. And I will say, look, going to another environment, it's a lot, right? But it's not the same as Texas OU. Like, the players, Texas OU play each other every single season. They hate each other, right? We switch off winning the gold cowboy hat. These guys haven't played in 12 years.
Sure, but that's neutral site versus playing a road game. Like,
it mattered to Arkansas. Like, when we lost to Arkansas, it mattered.
Which I also think is going to be a tough game too, because we go to Fayetteville once again. Which, guess what? We lost when we went to Fayetteville. This team it's going to be a tough game.
It's like the thing is like we don't have like the Bamas, the LSUs, the Ole Miss on the schedule, but we have teams where we're going to where, like, you guys remember 2 years ago, right before the Lions were really good, they played the Packers and the Packers had to win and get in. They were in the playoffs, and Dan Campbell at halftime goes, if we're not going in, they're not going in either. Like, that's going to be a lot of people's mentalities when they play us. Arkansas might be sitting there at, like, whatever, 4-4, 3, whatever we play them what week. They might go, all right, if we're not getting in, guess what? Texas ain't going in either. Ditto with A&M at the end of the season.
Oh, I'm with you, but I will say that, like, I mean, it looks like we have what, 1, 2, 3.
We have a lot of home games.
We have 4 away games this year.
Yeah,
that's it.
No, we're going to win the national championship.
And one of the 4 away games is Vanderbilt. So it's like,
No, I think if it comes down to Sark versus Kirby and we have to win an extra game in the college football playoff, I give them the advantage. I think it's just kind of how it's going to go. I give Kirby the advantage over any team that they're playing in the college football playoff. A lot of these coaches just haven't been there, don't have those reps, don't know what to say to their team, don't know how to prepare them. And I think for anyone, honestly, like, it's a different situation because it is a 12-team playoff. Like, it's just going to look different, which means that someone could rise to the top that hasn't been there before. Certainly.
Yep.
We just, as we always do, we're going to have a big old target on our back, and it's not going anywhere, and it's just going to get bigger this season, not smaller. Yep. So I hope we rise to the challenge.
Looking at Georgia's schedule, it's brutal. They kick it off against Clemson, and then they also are at Tuscaloosa. They're at Texas. They're at Ole Miss, and they also play Tennessee this season, who I feel like could also be sneaky.
That schedule is brutal, but the only caveat is they're brutal.
Yeah, it's just remember the season.
That's the end.
Not the TCU season, the season before, and what it looked like when they played every competent team. They wiped the floor with them. It didn't matter. Like, I don't know if
you're the national champion, then, like, you don't have to complain. Like, you feel like you're the best team. It's like, just throw anyone at us. We're gonna win.
They don't care.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it. Let me close out with the last game, and then we have a bunch of good stuff from the show that we'll break up. Nick, you're up first. Okay. with our famous "Would you rather" game. Would you rather in college quarterback Baker Mayfield edition? Would you rather Baker Mayfield or Johnny Manziel?
So this is like at their peak, right?
At their best in college.
Oh, man, Johnny football is so much fun. I still rather have Baker.
Okay. Baker Mayfield or Jameis Winston?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield or Jalen Hurts?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield or Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray.
Baker Mayfield or Marcus Mariota?
Marcus Mariota.
Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson?
Lamar.
Wow. Baker Mayfield or RG3?
Oof. God, RG3 was sick.
So is Baker.
Yeah. Baker.
Baker Mayfield or Caleb Williams?
Caleb.
Baker Mayfield or Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow. I think that's the best season out of any single player of all time in college football. Just what their team did, what he did. I can't take any season over that.
Baker Mayfield or Tim Tebow?
Tim Tebow.
Okay. Wow. Tough go for Baker. Well, yeah, I didn't include VY because I think that would have been a gimme. All right, Toss, here we go. Maybe a bit more difficult for you. Would you rather in college, at their best, Jamar Chase edition? Jamar Chase or Jerry Jeudy?
Jamar.
Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson?
This is like offing my two favorite twins, basically. I don't know which one to pick. This is a real Sophie's Choice situation here. I think JJ.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
Jamar had a better college career, though, no?
He had a better season. He
But
won the
look at
Blitnikoff.
but then he sat out. And
Yeah.
JJ did it 2 years in a row.
This is at their best. This is at their best.
That one's really tough.
Jamar Chase or James Washington?
Jamar Chase.
James Washington was great.
No. I know. But Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase or Amari Cooper?
Chase.
Jamar Chase or CeeDee Lamb?
CD.
Jamar Chase or Marvin Harrison Jr. Jamar Chase or Percy Harvin?
I kind of need to
look
revisit.
at the stats.
Yeah. I'll just go off of feel, I guess. And I would probably say Chase.
Okay. Jamar Chase.
Percy did a lot in the return game too.
Tough.
I'll switch.
I think your feels good. Chase was sick. I think you're good.
Return game is a big added bonus though in college football for sure.
Sure.
I mean, I'll give you some quick stats of Percy. He never was over 1,000 yards receiving in any season, but he rushed for 660 yards his junior year, and he rushed for 764 yards his sophomore year. So combined rushing, receiving, he was over.
Can you look real quick at his return yards too?
Let's see if returns on here. I'm on Sports Reference. I don't see returns.
It's not like they were an air raid offense either, you know.
No, but I don't see returns right now. But like the fact that he was over 1,500 yards.
Yeah,
all purpose.
I will go with Percy.
Okay, cool. Fair, more than fair. Jamar Chase or Justin Blackman?
Jamar Chase. I'm biased to the team that is going to win the national championship in comparison to the two Oklahoma State receivers who were really, really good and had individual great seasons, but didn't.
Justin Blackman, his sophomore season.
Yeah, he was nasty.
1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns.
Unbelievable.
Ridiculous. Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith?
Smith.
Jamar Chase or the death sentence, Michael Crabtree.
Michael Crabtree.
All right, boys. Excellent show. Ton of content, multiple shows in one.
Michael
Very
Crabtree,
good.
the best receiver you guys have seen in college?
Yes.
To me, he is.
Almost 2,000 yards.
Honestly, now that we're all discussing
Freshman year.
he's the best. As far as I think Percy Harvin is, as far as just player, like that, Percy Harvin was like overshined by Tim Tebow, but he was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they also had, the team was so good.
Team's insane.
Hernandez was
Michael
incredible.
Crabtree had 134 receptions, 1,900 yards, 22 touchdowns.
He had 134 catches.
Freshman year.
What?
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's the best.
What was Oklahoma State? What was the highest ranking they achieved with Washington and or Blackman? Because part of it for me is like that Texas Tech team was one of the best teams in the nation.
Yeah, they
were the one seed, the
Right.
one team at one point. It was him and Graham Harrell.
And then OU got in because OU beat them and they beat us.
Right. Yeah. Everyone beat everyone. Who did go through Knicks again on the QBs?
Nick only took Baker over Manziel, Winston, and Jalen Hurts. Other than that, he went Lamar, Kyler, Mariota, RG3, Caleb, Joe Burrow, and Tim Tebow, which I would probably take Baker over.
I'd take him over Kyler.
That was probably my only one that I would say. But other than that, actually looking at it, like, I just
remember watching Kyler in college, man. And just like he was a video game. Like
Baker's accuracy though is just second to none. Like he just never missed a throw. And as far as clutch players go, like who do you want more than that guy in the clutch? It's kind of.
I think Lamar might have been one that was like wishy-washy, but Lamar his season was insane too.
You just didn't see him play the same it's just hard, right? Like I'm with you.
But they were a top 5 seed as Louisville. I keep saying seed because of where we are now, but they were a top 5 team at one point. I will say that your savings grace on Kyler. There was one game where we were playing them and we ended up winning the game. We were beating them, but we thought it was over.
Cabo Cantino,
and he literally took
we met Christian Yelich.
Yeah, he literally jutted up the sideline for 80 yards, and I was like, "Oh my god, this guy could change." It was like Steph Curry; he could change the game in an instant if he has to.
Oh, it's not that Caleb Williams didn't do that too against them.
I mean, well, I thought he was towards the back end of the list for a reason. All right, gentlemen, amazing time as always. Fisher DeSalbos, DJ Nicky, Snacks Crider. We'll see you guys later. We'll see you another time. Peace.